Coming up on At Issue, you've heard about going green, but how does it apply to the business world? Ryan Wolber from the Illinois Green Business Association is here next to talk about how businesses all over the state are saving money by becoming more eco-friendly. What do you need to know to get started? Well, find out next. At Issue starts right now. Welcome and thanks for joining us for At Issue. I'm your host, Lori Casey. The green movement has been around for a long time now, but as that movement continues, more facets of it also continue to emerge. One of those facets is green business. Now, what does that mean and how can it help the environment? Well, here to answer that question is Ryan Wolber, Certification Manager for the Illinois Green Business Association, and you are here as part of the program through the Charleston Chamber of Commerce. So we thank you for stopping by the studio to talk about green business.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Ryan, tell us a little bit about what your organization does.
Well, so the Illinois Green Business Association is a 501c3 nonprofit. We focus on engaging businesses on large and small levels across the state to really incorporate sustainability into their business practices. We do this through three main programs. We have our Green Business Certification Program, which covers 9 areas of business sustainability, from pollution prevention to energy conservation, water conservation, to even engaging the community. Our second program is our public engagement aspect, along with our education. That includes green drinks on a monthly basis to engage community leaders and businesses, to our upcoming annual Green Business Summit. Our annual summit is really end of the year celebration, get-together event to talk about what were the successes, what can we do to improve, and where is this industry trending. And so this year will be in Tinley Park, October 15th. It's going to be a great event, and that kind of wraps up our educational aspect. Our third program is our direct installation program. We partner with various utility companies, Ameren, Illinois, Nicor up in the Chicagoland suburb area, to install energy-efficient equipment. We'll go into businesses, small, large, and mostly on a smaller scale, and do energy installations. That can be lighting upgrades, faucet aerators that actually infuse a little bit of air jets into the water stream to make it more energy efficient, water efficient. Both of those installations actually then have direct financial savings for a business. So those are the three main programs that we as an organization reach through.
Okay, so now tell us where your offices are located at.
Yeah, so the IGBA, we were founded 5 years ago in 2008. 3 college students at the U of I got together. They were doing off-campus recycling with residents and businesses. And then someone asked a question, why is Green Street, the main street on campus, not green? There's trash everywhere, litter. And so they started researching various business programs, ways to engage communities and businesses to make them more environmentally friendly. And they found the California Green Business Program based out in the San Francisco Bay Area. And they've been in existence for about 10 years now, 10, 15 years. And so went out to California, worked with them, collaborated to then bring back a green business certification program. Now that's where we're based out of, Urbana-Champaign, and we still have our main offices there, but then we have partnerships across the state in 7 different communities now.
Okay, so you cover and travel to all different parts of the state.
Yes, yes, we kind of are all along the I-74 corridor, Urbana-Champaign, Bloomington-Normal, Peoria, Galesburg, Charleston, and the Eastern Illinois University region, along with Oak Park River Forest, LaGrange, and Tinley Park region.
So the whole idea started with some college students, U of I students.
Yes.
Now, are they still involved in the project?
Yes, they're the 3 original founders, or 4-person staff, so I'm the newest addition.
Okay.
And so we have a very dedicated board of directors, business leaders, community leaders that meet on a weekly basis and really focus on strategic vision. Where do we see the organization going and how can we get there?
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how the term green has evolved. When did it sort of start to become a little more mainstream, and how has that term changed over the years?
Well, I'd say green term started back in the 70s, 80s. Really, it was attributed to more of the hippier movement, as you could say. But it really caught on in, I would definitely say, early 2000s. Inconvenient Truth, Al Gore really led the charge and brought green back to the mainstream. But in the last 5 years, with the recession and the economic downturn, businesses were looking for a way to cut costs. How can we improve our bottom line, increase profits, increase revenue? And they found that being more resourceful, more conservative with their resources, with energy usage and water usage, was a great place to start. So that is, I would say, the newest edition of the green movement, is a more business angle and being more efficient with your resources.
So, oh, sorry.
No, I was going to add that while that's the general nationwide aspect, then it's broken down into various areas. Western part of the United States, California, actually has very vigorous pollution programs and regulations. So it's more motivated by a regulatory push. Southern United States has a stronger water focus, so through drought and those reasons. Illinois is really focused on the energy savings, the water savings, and the business aspect of it.
Okay, so let's talk about some simple things that businesses can do to become more green.
Yeah.
What are some practices?
I would definitely encourage all businesses to get a energy efficient audit through their utility provider. If you look at your utility bill, there'll be a little portion where it says you're paying a small fee to an efficiency program. So businesses and people are already paying a small part of their utility bill for these efficiency programs. Then that money is then used as incentives for businesses to get these fantastic upgrades. They can see a payback on energy efficient lighting upgrade probably in 3 to 5 months, and in the business world, the 3 to 5 month payback is very good. It's very unheard of, and so that's the first step. I would encourage all businesses and residents to take advantage of that program. The next step is something people don't think of, but I would really encourage people to shop local. Support your local community, keep the dollars in the community, but then also that cuts down on transportation costs. That cuts down on pollution, cuts down on gasoline usage and carbon emissions. Other steps businesses can take are your standard reduce, reuse, recycle, making sure to keep as many items out of the landfill. That can help with their cutting down the carbon cost on transporting the waste to the landfill. And so that's another way businesses can go green. Very small and simple steps.
So not necessarily overhauling and redoing everything in your building all at once.
No. When we work with a business, we will go through purchasing and their entire supplies of items and their electronic usage. And if they have just purchased brand new items that aren't Energy Star or energy efficient, we'll then assist them in writing a policy that states that in the future, when buying new items and then when they do an overhaul, they'll then purchase more eco-friendly items. Because it's not very sustainable for a business to purchase all new items that are energy efficient and toss the old ones. So it doesn't have to be a complete overhaul. Small steps can make a big difference.
So does your organization, you're dealing with more mid and smaller businesses, not large industries, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so talk about some of there's two organizations in our region here in Charleston and Mattoon. Tell us about those and what they're doing and how you're helping them.
Yeah, so we are currently working with the Lumpkin Family Foundation and the Charleston Chamber of Commerce. Charleston Chamber of Commerce is recently enrolled, so the first step of the process for them right now is going through our checklist, our green business checklist, and the assessment of that checklist. And we have 3 different branches of our program, and that covers office and retail, restaurant and cafe, and then hotel and hospitality. Because each sector has different needs and requirements and can become more environmentally friendly in different ways. So they'll go through the office and retail checklist, and in that checklist there's 9 sections, about 270 items that they'll look through. So the first step for them is going to be kind of going through the list, seeing what are they doing right now, what do they want to do in the future, and maybe what's not the best for their business at this time. And so that's the first step for the Chamber of Commerce. And they already have talked about doing energy efficient lighting, cutting down on their utility bill, and then engaging the community. They really want to highlight that through their programs because they do a lot in this area, and they want to make sure that they can incorporate sustainability into those practices. The Lumpkin Family Foundation, they're doing a lot in terms of sustainable transportation for their employees, for the foundation itself when they travel for businesses, along with practices within the building for program awareness, really program awareness in terms of engaging their employees. So having a very comprehensive green business policy handbook that all the employees, upon being hired by the Family Foundation, they have to sign on and agree to these policies. They have a quarterly Green Warrior Award, and so they track the points of who does the most environmentally friendly activities, and then they receive recognition for those activities.
So it seems like in addition to physical things like changing out the lighting, there's also a behavioral change that you're trying to implement that's part of your program?
Yes, I would say over 50% of our items in our program are more behavioral change, because we strongly believe that while energy efficient equipment is fantastic, it's great, if a business is not using those items in a more sustainable manner, if you don't engage in behavior change, then those savings and those positive impacts aren't necessarily seen. It's very important to change the culture of a business.
So Lumpkin and the Chamber are more the office related. What are some of the, you said there's a food service industry, like those people, what are some of the things like that they would be looking at if it's a restaurant in terms of energy savings and becoming more green?
Yeah, for restaurants we focus on buying organic, buying local, buying a fair trade if possible. So really on the purchasing side, that's really where you'll see a big difference between the office and retail and the restaurant cafe is the purchasing aspect. Then also how they use those resources, but a lot of the businesses are doing those practices already with restaurants, rotating their stock to make sure it's kept fresh, there's no waste, things of that nature. Along with supporting, whether it's through stocking locally grown items or partnering with farmers to encourage them to create a market for locally grown in the area. That's where you'll see a big difference in the restaurant cafe to the office and retail section.
So for someone like the Charleston Chamber, how long does that process take by the time you guys come in and they look through this big checklist of stuff to get that all implemented? What's the average time to implement?
I would say that's a very good question. I get that every time I talk to a business who's possibly interested in enrolling in our program. And that really depends on the business. 3 to 6 months is average. 3 months, I think, is the fastest we've seen a business go through. So that's the ideal. But we do act as a consultant to the business. We've worked with accounting firms, and they've approached us saying, you know, it's tax season. We need to table this for a month or so, and so then we'll reapproach it. There's no time limit on how long they can stay in the certification program. They go through at their own pace, and they implement things as they go along. And it can take a while because it's such a comprehensive list. And then we collect verifications for each item, proof of each green practice. So whether that's documentation of their receipts of their organic foods purchased or a copy of the Green Employee Handbook that's signed by all of the employees and the staff, or photos of the energy efficient lighting. That way we combat greenwashing. Are you familiar with the term greenwashing?
No, tell us about that.
Greenwashing is where people falsely advertise that something is environmentally friendly. For example, you'll commonly see a sock or item of clothing saying it's reusable or made from reusable items, and then you look and it'll say 5% of this is made from bamboo. Is 5% of it really make that a reused item or reusable item? In our opinion, it does not. And so we use our certification to create a known and a verified standard of business practice that people can recognize is truly environmentally friendly and that the business is upholding to those standards. And if people are curious and they want to inquire, we will send the verification proof to them and they can see this is how A, B, and C the business is going through and they are a green business.
So then how many of those verifications does a business have before then they get the certification from you?
Very good question. So when they go through the checklist, they have to accomplish 50% of the items that apply to them.
Okay.
We leave a lot of flexibility because some businesses, larger groups, we certified Busey Bank, and they were a larger business, and they were able to have the capital to do a lot of energy efficiency upgrades. And they could do a lot of those more technological upgrades. A smaller business may not have, a mom and pop store may not have those dollars on hand to do that. So we have other options like education and employee engagement. So it's a checklist that is tailored to the business. They can choose their own green path to become certified.
Okay, so that checklist you said had about how many things?
270 items on it. So on average, they'll complete 130, 135.
Okay, so you complete that, and then what's next? You get the certification, and does that qualify you for, you know, discounts on things, or, you know, what does that do for the business?
So once they're certified, then we will market their business through our marketing avenues and our marketing department as a green certified business.
Okay.
It goes out to our newsletter, all of our social media outlets. Will assist them in creating marketing packages just for that business alone. They'll have access to our logo. We have gone into grants with other businesses and nonprofits who have finished our program because of the partnership we've formed. So there's that opportunity as well. And then every 3 months, so every quarter, we'll go in and check in with the business to make sure they're still fulfilling those green practices. And what do they want to see? Do they need assistance with energy efficiency or water efficiency or in composting more? So we're their go-to green consultants after the period of time that they're certified.
And then does that, once they're certified, does the process kind of evolve? Do they sort of revisit that checklist and say, well, now these things apply, and then look at more ways of becoming more green, I guess?
Yeah, they will do that. They can do that throughout the entire process and afterwards if they so choose. But after 3 years, they have to go through recertification.
Okay.
So the certification has a time limit, and they can choose to go through again. We hope they do. All of our businesses to date have gone through recertification, and once they do that, the cost of recertifying is half of the original cost. And so then that process, once they start the recertification, we ask that they move up, 10% more items or 15% more items. That's very negotiable, but we do hope that they will then become more environmentally friendly and not just receiving credit for the items they're currently performing.
Well, you had mentioned before Busey Bank is one of your larger businesses that has several banks throughout the region.
Yes.
Talk about what they did and what kind of return they're seeing on their, I guess they're talking about business and return on investment is
ROI.
important.
Yes.
Talk about what they did and what their process was like.
So they actually we certified Busey Bank headquarters and all 40 branches between Illinois, Indiana, and Florida.
Okay.
So it was a very large project, and they created inter-office green teams. They've done inter-office challenges to encourage their employees to have a game, so to say, this branch versus this branch. But they did a lot of energy efficiency upgrades. They worked with our utility program. They got a complete lighting overhaul. And between all bank branches now, they're seeing on average about $40,000 a year on savings. And so I believe their investment on those lighting upgrades is paid back. And now that's profit they're making off that green investment. They also really engage their employees throughout the bank. They have an intranet system where all their employees can voice comments, concerns, thoughts. They have a whole green section. So if an employee has an idea on we should do this program or we should really maybe take up more cycling or engage this nonprofit, then we help them create a forum to have those discussions.
Okay, well, I was going to ask, I know you said you're kind of focusing a little more on the behavioral side. So how do you get employee buy-in? Because people say, oh, that seems like it's a little extra work. I don't have time in my day for that. How do you get people excited about this and get everybody on the same page?
Yeah.
And is that a challenge in some organizations?
To answer the second question, it can be a challenge. I've gone to some businesses where the owner is very pro-environmental and really wants to get certified for the ideal aspect. Typically, when we work with a business, they want to enroll for a few reasons, and it's either they want to save money or they want to help the environment. Sometimes the owner wants to help the environment, but then they'll put that off to the manager, who then puts that off to the assistant manager. And then that's an item on their desk that just needs to get accomplished. So when I work with that individual, it will be partial education, but then also a very efficient path to certification. And so it's very flexible, and we'll work with them, but it's just it's a slow process on how to engage that employee. We will first hold green team meetings within the business. First start off with like volunteerism, seeing who would like to dedicate, this lunch, we'll have a lunch meeting. Lunch meetings are great because people need to eat, and you can wrap it into the day's schedule. And so I have a lunchtime green team meeting, and we can put on the lunch. So free lunch is also a big motivator.
Food is always a motivator.
It is, to get people in the door. And then we'll talk about what are your concerns? What would you like to see? And then since our checklist is so comprehensive, we have confidence that what their concern is, what's important to them, we can find it. We can find what they are passionate about, and then we can utilize that. And then we can use that energy to really kind of create a snowball effect throughout the office.
So what are some ways that you think we need to change, that the business culture needs to change to think about going towards more of a green movement?
I would say, and this is something I see every day, is getting past the old stigma of what being green is, and that it actually adds more work to the business.
Okay.
I think.
Do you think that's a big misconception
Yes.
that, oh, this is going to be more work,
Yes.
it's going to actually cost us more?
Through our processes, asset management, energy efficiency, it can save money, it can save time, increase employee participation, and I really think that's probably the big stigma right now is that this is a burden, and it's really not. We've created incentive programs with the business to create a coupon book within local businesses in Urbana-Champaign, a small little program where they can gain incentives. This salon we certified, a Patu salon, they now have a program that if the employees shop at these 5 other businesses in the area that are green certified, then they get recognition in a Patu. They get a bonus, or they get a pizza party, or they get a coupon to a reusable store or the farmer's market. So they get credits for being environmentally friendly. That's added into their job responsibility, but it adds an incentive that kind of makes it worth their while. So while it may seem as though, like I said, it does seem like as though it may be adding responsibility, it's coupled into your daily activities. You need to shop for food, you need to shop for office supplies. So why not encourage them to shop at the local stores that are green certified, that offer recycled content, paper, and office supplies or soy-based ink. All those things do make a big difference. So it's finding ways to encourage people to incorporate those small changes into their daily lives.
Well, one of the things, Eastern has had a long history of recycling, recycling of papers. You walk around campus, there's recycling bins. And one of the things that they did here was replace a lot of the lighting. And you notice, we can't show the viewers, but the lighting in our studio was changed out in December of last year. And it had the traditional quartz, halogen, expensive light bulbs that took a lot of energy. And now we're sitting all within fluorescent lights. And for us as TV producers, honestly, this is a lot easier. We don't have to change those bulbs because these fluorescent lights, they last so much longer. Sometimes our studio would be 90 degrees because of when you'd have all the lights on. So we saw that from our small staff of producers. It made our life a lot easier. You just turn the lights on and you're ready to go.
That, and then another thing that can change in the office atmosphere with the lighting upgrades is you can get rid of the old light bulbs that have that buzzing sound. It makes you feel as if you're in a jail cell. So improving the employee atmosphere can then lead to increased productivity and better work environment.
Well, and I think too, like when I think about fluorescent lights, that, like you said, the technology has changed so much. In TV 10 years ago, you would have never used fluorescent lights, but now they come in different colors. They don't buzz. It's not that orangey or really bluish look. So it seems like things are changing to make it easier to be green.
Yes, I would agree. And that's what we're seeing from people and businesses that we work with, that once we get through maybe that initial sticker shock of, oh my goodness, 9 sections, 270 items.
That's a lot.
And then, and then once you really sit down and look at the items, you go, oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing this, and I would like to do that. And so it really, it's practices people are already doing.
They just didn't
realize it,
that.
exactly.
I mean, here we recycle the back. We actually set our copier so that if you printed 2 sheets of paper, it prints on the other side. Simple.
You would receive credit in our checklist for that, setting the copier to 2-sided.
We didn't know we were green. We didn't know it. So yeah, there are a lot of things. That's some rattle us off some quick things that maybe if people aren't ready to go the whole green certification, what are some other things that a business or even a school or an office like ours could do that they might not even think of? That would be real simple.
Turning the water off when you're shaving in the morning or brushing your teeth, very simple. So you can save hundreds of gallons of water a year. You would receive credit on our checklist for running the dishwasher only when it's full, not running it when it's half full. I think when people don't see the utility bill, when the employee doesn't see it, they're more likely to use those resources. Leave the lights on, leave the water on. In our transportation section, you'll receive credit for commuting to work or biking to work. You'll also receive credit for telecommuting to work. That's becoming more increasingly popular. Also receive credit for when you do errands for the business, you try to do multiple trips in one to cut down on transportation expenses. That's a common practice people do. Another item that's fairly common practice is having envelope-less marketing materials that don't require envelope, that you can just send in a package and then be spread out, passed out to the audience. That cuts down paper costs and paper usage. Double-sided printing, like you had said, expanding the margins on the copier and the printer so that you can get more text into a sheet of paper.
Right.
That's another small, simple thing that you can do. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Little things like that can make a big difference. And then that's on the employee side. On the operational side, definitely looking at the materials you're using in the business. You can actually probably buy, recycled content pens, maybe 50 cents, 60 cents more expensive than your standard pens. But there's a stigma that it's going to cost $10 more expensive for recycled content pens. Looking at the chemicals used to clean, the Windex and the soaps, buying ones that are biodegradable or safer for the environment that way. Those are small things that it's really just moving your arm when you buy the item at the shelf, moving it maybe to the right or to the left to get the other item that's more environmentally friendly. And that can make a big difference. So those are very, very simple things that people don't necessarily think about.
All right. Well, Ryan, we're out of time. Thank you so much for stopping by and letting us know about how to become more green, both as businesses and individuals. And good luck with what's next for you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks. Yes.